Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Just while we've got you, and I know you can answer a question on anything, Mark Carney, Governor of the Bank of England, of course, has warned that the adoption of digital currencies in the wake of Bitcoin's popularity raises the risk of an instantaneous run, in his words, on lenders, threatening financial stability. So what's he saying there? Stay away from Bitcoin or else?
Yeah, I didn't see what he said, so I'm working off what you. I will trust you. The bank doesn't much like Bitcoin, and that is largely because they look at it, and I think a lot of economists look at Bitcoin and they say this is an asset that isn't based on anything apart from the fact that some people believe in the future it might be a legitimate currency, and as a result of that, you know, it's quite possible, it's quite plausible that tomorrow its value could go down to zero, just because there's nothing there. There is no gold, there is no tulip. Even in the tulip craze in the Netherlands in the kind of 17th century, there were tulips. You could still have a tulip even if the cost of it was very high. The concern for the bank is that this is just a notional asset which could just disappear tomorrow. A lot of people out there will tell you, though, Bitcoin represents something serious. It represents a challenge against currencies that are designed and set by governments. This is a currency that is set by an algorithm in the internet, and that model isn't going away anytime soon. But you've got to say, you look at those numbers, you look at just how much it yo-yos around, you know, crashing one day, booming the next. This is an asset which is in the kind of bubble phase at the moment. You might well be lucky and it might make you some money, but you might be unlucky and it could lose you a lot of money.
There is literally nothing you don't know. It's good to talk to you. Thank you.
That's definitely true.
It's true. It's true.
Bitcoin. It's the cryptocurrency which has no physical manifestation, but which has spectacularly soared in price over the last year. It's brought vast wealth to a few individuals. Just 1,000 people are thought to own 40% of the entire market. It's got a bad reputation too, described variously as a massive scam, a dangerous bubble about to burst, and a medium for some to illegally purchase guns and drugs. But it has perfectly legitimate users too, as our economics correspondent Helia Ebrahimi reports.
A digital gold rush, but a very real-world asset bubble. At the start of this year, Bitcoin was $952. By December, it had hit the $10,000 mark, a 1,000% increase.
Really interesting to see the surge of buying after Thanksgiving.
Just a few weeks later, it had nearly doubled in value to almost $20,000, before settling at $17,300. But can Bitcoin's rise be too good to be true?
Here at London St James's, you can buy gold bars. This one, for example, will set you back around £15,500, roughly where a single Bitcoin is trading today. But this bar, which is remarkably heavy, is definitely real, it's tangible. And if you don't like bars and bullion, well, then you can make jewellery, like these gold earrings. Whereas Bitcoin is a bit of a leap of faith, given it's just code on a computer network.
Founded in the height of the financial crisis, Bitcoin was originally a way of circumventing central authorities with electronic cash, connecting people without needing to use or pay discredited banks. Unlike normal currency that's printed by central banks, Bitcoin is a radical new system. It doesn't need to be printed, it doesn't need a central authority. Instead, its supply is governed by a network of computers that solve complex mathematical problems. It's a totally new way of doing things. A new Bitcoin is created only when the algorithm puzzles have been solved. Whereas its supporters say it's independent of a failing global world order, its critics complain that separation is exactly what makes it secretive and risky.
I believe that cryptocurrency and blockchain technology will completely change this world.
An unlikely supporter is Baroness Michelle Mone, who made her fortune from lingerie brands. Not only an investor, she's also decided to take Bitcoin instead of cash for her Dubai property venture, which includes a shopping mall and more than 1,000 flats.
as time goes on, it will get more mainstream and people will accept it more. And I think that everyone's thinking, oh my goodness, what's going on here with this? You know, it's sort of taken over. But I do believe that cryptocurrency is the future digital currency, and it's here to stay.
Is it for the everyday investors? Should people fill their boots?
Well, you know, it's funny because my mum and dad are just working class, you know, people, and my mum and dad have never had a credit card. And my mum's just invested some of her savings into Bitcoin.
But there have been a series of warnings from central bankers, regulators, and even bank bosses like Jamie Dimon.
I don't personally understand the value of something that has no actual value. I could care less what Bitcoin trades for, how it trades, why it trades, who trades it. If you're stupid enough to buy it, you'll pay the price for it one day.
The confusion about what Bitcoin is, part currency, part commodity, has underpinned its rollercoaster journey. But it's hard to believe that anything that goes up by so much in such a short space of time won't turn out to be a bubble.
The global market cap is over $600 billion, and we're kind of predicting it'll probably hit over $1 trillion at some point in 2018.
You must look at Bitcoin today and go, that's just a bubble. That's just going to be boom and bust, isn't it?
There's lots of new money pouring in. Some of that money is very sophisticated. So you've got money coming in from Wall Street, hedge fund managers, and new crypto hedge funds actually forming. You also have a lot of new retail investors or speculators as well. And so my general advice, my advice to people is never invest in things you don't understand, and only put enough money into things that you're not willing to lose.
Bitcoin has another problem: crime. Since its inception, it has been linked with illicit criminal activity. While mainstream use has increased, so too has criminal use, up 75% this year. And it now accounts for 40% of payments between criminals, a worrying and growing problem for the man who heads criminal finance for the Metropolitan Police.
The intelligence and the evidence does suggest that there's a huge rise in the use of virtual currency, particularly Bitcoin, by criminals. It's very attractive for criminals to use because it is decentralised, it's unregulated. Within the Metropolitan Police and law enforcement across the UK, we are taking it extremely seriously.
And what part of that network are you most worried about?
From street drug dealers, from sex workers, right up through fraudsters operating on the dark net, and again right up to big significant criminal crime families, syndicates who will put large amounts of money into virtual currency to try and hide them from law enforcement.
It has a seedy past, doesn't it, Bitcoin?
Yeah, it does. But if you look at it, actually it's very transparent. It will help organisations, governments, capture the bad guys, which is good. Cash you can't catch, but Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, you will be able to.
But security remains a fear. Just today, problems emerged at 2 exchanges selling Bitcoin, one forced into bankruptcy following the revelation of a cyber attack. European regulators were on the case too, warning consumers security breaches and price volatility could mean people face losing all their money. But in a world of wage stagnation and rock-bottom interest rates, it's hard to ignore untaxable returns of more than 1,000%. And just as books, music and films have all gone digital, it should be no surprise that cash is heading in that direction too, even if Bitcoin itself doesn't last the entire journey.
Helia Ebrahimi, a crypto hedge fund. Is it a crossword clue?
I think if you have a problem, you just turn it on and off again.
I'm turning it off, I think.
Until a few days ago, you might have been kicking yourself for not investing in Bitcoin this year. The value of the cyber currency had soared since January, but now Bitcoin has gone into free fall, with the price tumbling even further in the last few hours. So has it finally run out of steam? Well, our business correspondent, Helia Ebrahimi, is with me now. Has it?
Well, Matt, we were talking at the beginning of this week of this extraordinary 2,000% rise in the value of a single Bitcoin, hitting almost $20,000. Today, we're talking about a market crash that's seen almost half the value of Bitcoin just vanish, hitting a low today of $10,400. So this digital gold rush, even though Bitcoin's edged up slightly, isn't quite the one-way bet that people were talking about.
So what happened here, and why did it happen so suddenly?
Well, in the last few days, regulators have had some really serious warnings. They've talked about the increase in the number of scams they've seen and the possibility that consumers may lose everything. Earlier in the week, we reported that the Metropolitan Police had concerns, and I think those concerns are echoed both here and in the US. Just on Tuesday, one exchange, Ubit, which sells Bitcoin, actually went into administration after admitting it had been hacked into and money had disappeared.
So do you think it can come back again? I mean, should we now be poised as investors when it hits bottom to buy back in?
Well, supporters of Bitcoin would say, look, this is all teething problems. It's no issue because the fundamentals of the technology are so significant that it's going to change the global system. But for consumers who have piled in, it's really concerning, especially the rise in these scams. And amid the hype, a lot of companies have been jumping on the bandwagon. One company, a drinks company called Long Island Iced Tea, said it was going to rename itself this week using the phrase blockchain. Well, initially, shares tripled in value, but today they too played the Bitcoin price.
In a word, any contagion from this?
I think ultimately, probably not. Frankly, it's not too big to fail.
OK. Hayley Ibrahimi, thanks very much indeed.